9:34 is the time. News Talk 1270 KIML, the radio station. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. 682-1270, the phone number, 307-682-1270 if you're outside the area code. This is really going to be interesting because also joining us from Wyoming Liberty Group is Maureen. It's about time I finally get to see your face in person. Well, not in person. Your face, Maureen. We talk a lot, but we never get a chance to really see each other like this. So I asked you a little while ago if you could make a list. The people out there are going to love this list. So I had Representative Lubnow here in the radio station. And next to him was Senator Von Flateren. And they were trying to convince the audience, which I even told them after we got off mic, I'm sorry, I'm not convinced yet, that we have to do this gasoline tax. We have to raise the 10 cent a gallon fuel tax. Because that's, what is the number? What is it, 140-some million a year that we're going to need for a road?
When the Wyoming Department of Transportation, or WYDOT, says we're going to need about 135 million just to maintain the state of the road.
Currently have. Okay. So my question to you was, because I started ticking off in the top of my head. Now, wait a minute now. We have this pet project. We have that. Like the last time I was up last year, and I'm standing up in the gallery looking over the Senate, and I watched them just go out and just on a quick whim vote. I mean, there was really no debate over it, maybe 2 minutes of discussion. There's a ranch here in Campbell County that they decided to go ahead and purchase for historic value. Maureen, you can't even get to the ranch where it's located. And then, of course, in Wright, I've still been going on about they want to build a visitor center because, you know, Wright, Wyoming is such a tourist attraction. Obviously, that's going to bring in people like you wouldn't believe. And so I started thinking, if you lined up all of the pet projects, Maureen, is there enough money to pay for our roads?
I'm sure there probably is. You know, if you take a look at the governor's State of the State address that he gave just yesterday, we can see what he essentially did was go through his budget speech from November, the budget that he put out in November. And in that budget, what we do see is a whole list of pet projects that he wants more money for this session. Now, one of the things that he did say that I thought was a little bit disturbing was that, well, you know, what we can do is rework the 2013-2014 budget. But supposedly, this is a general session,
right?
Not a budget session. But as you probably know even better than me, these general sessions have essentially turned into budget sessions, or a place where the agency heads can come back and supplicate for more money. And that's something that really has got to stop, and that would go a long way to getting rid of the funding for some of these pet projects. And in fact, Alan Yagi has put together a bill that he's planning on introducing soon that would prevent agencies from asking for more money during the general session, except in the case of emergencies, and those emergencies have to be approved by the governor. So we're really looking forward to seeing that bill come. And I was watching your interview with Steve Klein, and one of the things that people can do if they want to get more information and know what to keep an eye on is they can go to our website, wyliberty.org, and join for free. And what I do most Fridays is send out a weekly update. And what we'll be doing throughout this session, and starting tomorrow in fact, is putting out which of the bills we're keeping an eye on. It's sort of our top 10. And it will, you know, of course, obviously the gas tax bill is one of those. Right. There's another bill I can talk about in a bit as well when we start talking about where is money going to come from to fund what we would consider to be core function of government. So that was actually kind of interesting that you know, Alan Yagi is out there ruffling a few feathers saying, look, what we really need to stop doing is spending so much.
Yeah. Well, what about this? And I wonder if that's on your list. Right away, I think about the governor has a pet project, and it's probably already underway, to purchase or to turn over some state vehicles, I think mostly at the University of Wyoming, to natural gas. And I have nothing against natural gas. I just thought, you know, isn't that a few million right there being blown on a pet project, which should be up to the private sector?
Yeah, so the whole natural gas thing, there are a couple of bills coming out that could potentially be very costly for taxpayers, because what they would do was provide subsidized loans to private companies to build these natural gas refueling stations. One of the things that would help support demand, of course, is if the governor were to force the state agencies as well as local governments to convert their vehicles over at a big cost to taxpayers to natural gas. So we've got a couple of what we call here corporate welfare programs that that are very costly to taxpayers. Now, one of the easiest places for governments, governors, and legislators to cut is corporate welfare, because you're not cutting off poor people from health care. You're not, you're not making these cuts that result in special interest groups bringing people in wheelchairs to the legislator to get this, like these hard case sympathy things that make it almost impossible for the governor and legislators to make cuts. But certainly it's easy for them to cut off special interest groups from funding. And actually that kind of goes to what we're going to be talking about in a bit, which is the gas tax. So yes, one of the problems with this the natural gas vehicles is that those vehicles are more costly. And it's true, the cost of fuel is lower, and probably, it's hard to say what's going to happen with the price of natural gas, because as we know, and in fact the governor mentioned this in his speech, natural gas prices fluctuate, so we'll see. So that's something that the governor could probably take off the list. But he's got, in his budget that he did at the end of November, he's got a whole list of projects, it's a wish list basically, that he wants to fund. Where's the money going to come from for that? Now that's kind of interesting, because this is money that's going from savings that he made. Supposedly we had these 8% budget cuts that turned into 6.5% budget cut that in fact is going back in to spending. So if you look at how much, it's like math, it's creative math, really, right. Creative math.
Yeah.
If you look at how much the governor is cutting from the what he calls a standard budget, it's about $60.5 million. But if you look at how much more he wants to spend on these special projects as wish list, that's $70 million. So hold on a second. Where is all this money supposed to come from? Well, what happened back in October is this group called the Consensus Revenue Estimating Group, or CREG, it's commonly known, said that, we think that because our investments have done so well, we're going to have an extra about $90 million to spend. Right. So is the governor going to put that to roads? No. He's going to put it to the Wildlife Trust Fund, more data center funding, so more corporate welfare, more money for local governments. They got, it's like 40 or 60 million in the budget. He wants to give them even more. It's just more and more and more all the time. Where is this money going to come from? Well, in the case of highway funding, where they want it to come from is taxpayers' pockets, when they've got all this extra money that they could spend on highway funding. But no, it has to go to wildlife. And I like wildlife.
Yeah.
I'm even a vegetarian. So there you go. But I don't hunt. I'd love to go out and look at wildlife. And in fact, when I cycle around behind the base here in Cheyenne, I almost get hit by pronghorn antelope all the time. And it's great to see them. But should we be putting money into a wildlife trust fund when supposedly we need all this money for roads? No, but we can hike the gas tax instead. So this is the sort of muddle-headed, wrong thinking that we're getting from government right now.
Well, and it is very interesting for some of the legislators, and I'm not claiming that they're evil or that they're the devil, but let's face it, there's some creating a creative accounting that's pretty easy for them to do, because they know the average person out there has a job, not like you and I. You and I don't have real jobs compared to everybody else. We actually love what we do. But we can sit down and go through these numbers and say, wait a minute, something's wrong here. But when a legislator or the governor explains his point of view or his plan to the average citizen, the numbers sound confusing and jumbled, so it's easy for them to make their case, which is why, again, I've got a couple of representatives, one now Speaker of the House, one a senator, sitting in the studio saying, well, if you're going to try to cut somewhere else, I guess you're going to end up hurting grandma or the veterans at the veterans home. And again, I have to go back and say, well, hold on, I do think there's plenty of money out there. I got to go to Todd Starnes real quick. But when we come back, Maureen, let's talk about that 10 cents tax and the numbers that you have in front of you there.
Excellent.
A teacher stomps the American flag. I'm Todd Starnes with this Fox News and commentary next.
My Mercedes-Benz technicians know my car inside and out.
They arrived at my house and changed my tire in minutes. They had me on my way.
Prepaying for my maintenance is so easy and convenient. It's one less thing.
Personal attention and exceptional customer care. As a Mercedes-Benz owner, it's what you deserve and what you'll get.
My go-to guys.
My rescue squad.
My road ahead. My service.
To learn more, visit mbusa.com/myservice.
Services vary. Available at participating dealers.
I've told you about lots of public school teachers spouting anti-American rhetoric in classrooms. But what happened near Columbia, South Carolina is just unbelievable.
There was allegations that a teacher took a flag down from the post in the classroom and stepped on that flag as part of a lesson.
That's Mark Bounds from the Lexington School District. And just to be clear, the lesson involved ripping down the American flag and stomping it on the ground in an honors English class.
We do take these allegations seriously, and we want to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure our classrooms are unbiased of teachers' personal opinions.
The teacher's been suspended pending their investigation, and patriotic folks around South Carolina are livid. One suggested the teacher's punishment should reflect what he did to Old Glory. I'm Todd Starnes.
I mean, what kind of a fool would put cameras in a radio studio? I mean, come on, it's a radio show, you know? No pictures, just words. What? Oh, it was Glenn?
Sorry. If you haven't seen the live YouTube stream, you're missing out. Log into boldrepublic.com and watch the show live, or watch it later on the archives page.
Why the heck would anyone want to see this?
Sorry. Back to Glenn Woods on KIML.
9:46 the time. Maureen, I see that you've gotten real clever and you figured out how to put up a little something over top of your screen when we go to commercial break so you can have something there. Now what you got to do is figure out how to put up the logo for your Wyoming Liberty Group when you go to a break or something like that.
Oh, that sounds like a good idea. I'll send you the file.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Actually, that's not hard. You guys send me some kind of a file or something that you want, and I'll send it back to you, something that fits the screen just right when you go to a break so you can do that. And I'm sorry to get you guys to put on all of your makeup and all and do your hair and so on to be on the radio, but, you know, that's the modern era that we live in here. Okay, so I'm talking with Maureen from Wyoming Liberty Group, and we're talking about the proposed 10-cent a gallon gasoline tax. Where are we at right now in this legislative session on that nonsense?
Well, right now, I think what's going to happen is on Monday morning at 7:30 a.m. in the Hirschler building, which is just behind the legislature. It's the Soviet-style building where all the bureaucrats' offices are.
Oh, is it the Soviet-style building where the bureaucrats are? That was well done. Thank you. That was good.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah.
I'm the soundbite, you know.
Yeah, right.
So at 7:30, the Revenue Committee is going to meet, and they haven't actually said for sure, but I'm fairly sure this is when that's going to happen. Now, I do have reports from other people saying that people in certain areas have gotten together and they've essentially started a telephoning campaign to their legislators to tell them no, that they don't want to pay a higher tax. So what we really do need to see are constituents coming out and talking about the fact that, look, this higher tax is something they just cannot pay right now, because it's, you know, you do have a capital special interest group who really want families to pay higher taxes, a higher gasoline tax, but at the end of the day, it's the constituents who vote for legislators.
Right.
So they are the ones. So you, the constituent, are the ones that have a far more powerful voice. And really, all a legislator has to do is hear from 5, maybe 10 people. And if you're one of them, you can really congratulate yourself if we're able to kill this bill, that you actually were instrumental in helping.
So lots of phone calls, lots of emails is what we need right now to shut this thing down. Now let's talk a little bit about, if you know, I don't know if you know all of the people in and out of this, but the special interest groups that are involved in trying to get a gas tax through. I keep hearing that there's quite a few special interest groups involved here.
Yeah, well, the group is headed up by, ironically, the Wyoming Taxpayers Association.
Really?
I used to work for the Canadian Taxpayers Association, and we used to speak on behalf of taxpayers. But It seems that the Wyoming Taxpayers Association speaks on behalf of people who want to, speaks on behalf of tax consumers.
Right.
So you've got them, you've got the Mining Association, you've got the Petroleum Association, you've even got a Trucking Association. It's just one association after another. Unfortunately, that was one of the...
See, I don't understand. Why would they be involved in trying to raise the fuel tax? Wouldn't it affect them negatively?
Well, it would. And in fact, when I was testifying before the Revenue Committee about a few weeks ago, the fellow from the mining industry said, yes, in fact, we're going to have to pay a higher tax. This is going to affect us. It's going to increase our costs. Of course, we're going to pass those costs along to the consumer. So in a sense, it doesn't affect them as long as they're able to pass that cost along. But at the same time, what he was concerned about was the fact that he felt that the Wyoming roads were deteriorating. Their industry uses the roads a lot, so they want to have good roads. And so I spoke to him afterwards, and I said, look, do you really think a 10-cent per gallon gasoline tax increase is going to improve the roads? Well, and I said, because, only about 40 million is actually going to go to roads. YDOT says they need 135. He says, yeah, but, a lot of our guys have accidents. And I said, when I worked in British Columbia, British Columbia in Canada is very the economy is very similar to Wyoming. There's a lot of energy exploration. And there are a lot of truckers who work for energy companies who are driving, and a lot of those truckers get into accidents. It's not because the roads are bad. It's because those guys are tired. A lot of them are young. They're drinking and driving. And it really, it doesn't matter how much you spend on roads. If people are drinking and driving, if people fall asleep at the wheel, if people are doing drugs, they are going to have accidents. So a 10-cent per gallon gas tax is not going to change that. And it's not enough to improve the roads. So I think there's a lot of confusion going on, and the problem that we're finding right now is that this cavil of special interest groups has had a hardcore campaign going since January, and they've convinced a lot of legislators that this 10 cents is going to do it. But it's not. And in fact, if they truly believe that a tax hike now is a long-term source of funding for roads, they must also believe that this tax hike is going to have to go up again and again and again. And in fact, there are rumors that what the Wyoming Department of Transportation really wants, very similar to what the Game and Fish Department really wants, is an automatic increase to the tax hike every single year.
Up with the cost.
Automatic tax hikes. Yeah. Call your legislators.
Well, now, we're going to have to, and think about this, I got to take one more break, and then I'll come on back with you. So the next question is going to be, well, if we're going to say to them, you got to shoot this down, then the next question has to be, so our plan to replace it to fund the roads is going to be what? Because fact of the matter is we're going to have to fund keeping up our roads. Okay, talking with Maureen from Wyoming Liberty Group. More in just a moment.
You don't have to go far to enjoy the luxury of Deadwood's newest legend, The Lodge at Deadwood. From the Black Hills' finest dining to a warm and relaxing place to unwind, it's fun for a couple's getaway or the entire family with our year-round water park. Enjoy our Las Vegas-style casino featuring poker, blackjack, and over 260 state-of-the-art slot machines. The Lodge also provides conference facilities for groups from 10 to 1,700. The Lodge at Deadwood. Make your reservation today. Call 605-584-4800 or visit deadwoodlodge.com.
Mountain View Regional Hospital in Casper is committed to bringing their world-class, board-certified neurosurgeons to Gillette through their outreach clinics because they believe that everyone in Wyoming deserves premium health care. Dr. Eric Schubert will see patients Tuesday, January 15th and Tuesday, January 29th. Space is limited, so call 358-6200 to book your appointment today.
Mountain View Regional Hospital. Ascend to new heights in surgical excellence and compassionate care.
Winter weather brings snow, wind, and cold. When the roads get icy, accidents can happen, and Sunshine Custom Paint and Body is there to help. For professional quality auto body repair, come to Sunshine Customs with their state-of-the-art drive-through estimate pay, expert color matching, precision frame straightening, and collision-related mechanical repair. They accept most major insurance and will get you on the road again. Sunshine Custom Paint and Body Shop, 5940 Mohan Road in Gillette.
This is Kara. Come get my car fixed at Papa's Body Shop.
Clean them out. Clean out those cabinets, closets, and storage units. Get rid of those old documents. Identity theft is one of our country's largest consumer awareness issues. Take every precaution to protect your privacy. Powder River Shredders LLC offers an affordable, time-saving solution to your privacy protection. They provide on-site secure document destruction. Information security is their business. Powder River Shredders, insured and bonded. So clean them out. For your peace of mind, go online to powderrivershredders.com or call 464-1415.
If you only listen to Glenn on the radio, you're missing out on the rest of the run. Join him and other listeners on Facebook, chat with him while he's on the air on Twitter, and watch Bold Republic YouTube videos. Find the links for all this and more at boldrepublic.com. Now let's get back in there. Here's Glenn Woods on News Talk 1270 KIML.
9:54 is the time. I bet you didn't know this, Maureen, but our Godfather's Pizza up here in Campbell County is the fifth Godfather's best in the nation as rated by fellow Godfather's Pizza restaurants. Do you see how I slip in a live commercial? It couldn't even tell. I just kind of snuck it in there. That's what's called professional radio. Maureen is with me from Wyoming Liberty Group. So, okay, step one in getting rid of the proposed 10 cent a gallon gasoline tax, Maureen, is get a hold of your legislators. And I wouldn't just say email them. Pick up the phone and call them. And there are ways to find out who your legislator is, so you can go ahead and call them directly. They're in session right now. Do it this weekend. Now they're going to ask you. So if we don't do 10 cent a gallon gasoline tax, we replace it with what? Because we need the money. And the answer is what?
Well, if we take a look at the governor's wish list, there's $70 million right there.
Wow.
And so what people need to understand is what YDOT did a couple of months ago is they came to the governor and they said, look, we need $50 million. The governor said no. And I think the reason he said no, even though the governor had been approving and the legislator had been approving this one-time funding for years, suddenly he says no. And the reason for that, I think, was because what he wanted to do was push for either a gas tax or what I think he really wants and what he's been asking for right from the very beginning, which is a diversion of severance tax revenue from the Wyoming Permanent Mineral Trust Fund to the Legislative Stabilization Reserve Account. So I think that's what's really going on behind the scenes. This is what the governor really wants. I mean, the governor, I've met him a bunch of times. He is a very nice man. He's very concerned. I think he understands that a gas tax is going to hurt Wyoming families. But what he really wants is to get this diversion of severance taxes, because what happens when money goes into the Wyoming Permanent Mineral Trust Fund is that the body of the fund can never come out unless the legislature changes the rules. However, if the money goes into the Legislative Stabilization Reserve Account, which is also called the Rainy Day Fund, then that money can be used. So the government has a lot more flexibility with the money that goes into that particular account. So I think that's what's really going on. So right now we can say, look, people can call up their legislators. They can say, look, the governor has got $70 million worth of spending priorities that aren't roads. But if roads are truly a core function of government, maybe he should take that money and put it to roads. That would be more than the $50 million that YDOT had actually asked for. And then what that will do is give us some time to start looking at where we can start refocusing the government's activity back down to what is truly a core function of government. I mean, if you're like me and you look at the Constitution, and what the Constitution actually says is that government is instituted among men to protect these rights. So in other words, individual rights. That is the core function of government. Of course, we're so far beyond that now. Right. We're not going to come back to our roots basically tomorrow. But what this would do is give us enough time then to start doing a real review of what the government is up to, so that we can start refocusing and shrinking down the scope of government. Because when we talk about big government, what we're talking about is all the things that the government is doing. I mean, really, should the government be giving out $900,000, almost $1 million a year to film companies? That's how much so back in 2007, the legislature started up a film subsidy program. This bureaucracy, which of course also costs money, hands out about $1 million a year to film companies. That's not the role of government. Now, I would really encourage people to go to our website. We've got a young investigative journalist. He's been doing an excellent job exposing wasteful spending at everyone's favorite department, the Game and Fish Department. And I got a little litany here of things that he found, and he's going to be posting another article on the pay hikes there, and hopefully that'll be today or tomorrow. So be sure to go to our website, yliberty.org.
Quite a few of my callers have been very upset that the Game and Fish Department wants to raise some of their rates, hunting licenses and things like that. Does this fall into the same category?
In fact, he's going to discuss that exactly, because the Game and Fish Department says, oh, we need another $10 million to cover all our costs. And if you look at how much their pay has gone up between 2007 and 2011, that's about $10 million. Wow. What do you know?
Okay. We got to get that guy to come on this show as soon as he has that ready. Now, I'm running out of time now, and of course, the lines are starting to line up with calls, but I'm out of time for the day. So, Maureen, we got to have you back as well, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, Maureen from Wyoming Liberty Group, thank you for coming on. And sorry, folks, I'm just out of time for the day. Coming up on Rush Limbaugh in just a couple of minutes from now, right after Fox News, and I'll yak at you guys tomorrow.
Yeah.